Welcome back. I'm joined by Championship correspondent Pascal Lemay to preview the final match of the season from Norwich and Fulham. Pascal, start with the home side. They're in the playoffs. They're going to finish third or fourth.
Yeah, they're guaranteed to finish in one of those two places now. They could have maybe kept alive very faint hopes of getting into the top two if they'd beaten Rotherham in their last game, but ended up drawing 1-1 in that game. You know, it was always going to be difficult for them. They lost Lewis Grabban in the first half to a stray red card. It was a bizarre decision for him. He was sort of grappling with a Rotherham player, and then you could just see just a slight sort of body punch that the referee, he spotted it. Fair play to the ref, good spot from him, and that's now a 3-match ban for Grabban, which means they are going to be in the playoffs, and he'll miss both of the semi-finals. So that would be a massive, massive blow for them, because Grabban, even though he started the season quite well, then went out of the team, had a bit of problem with injury. That was his first start since March the 1st, and his previous start before that was against Ipswich in the East Anglian derby, when he scored in that game, and it's looking quite likely that Norwich could play Ipswich in the playoff semi-finals, which would be just an incredible semi-final, a massive rivalry that is. And I think Norwich have certainly fancy playing Ipswich. Their record against them recently is excellent. They've won, I think, 4 in a row against Ipswich. They tend to do much better in the derby, so I think they'd be quite happy with that. I think they'd rather play Ipswich than Derby, the other team currently in the playoffs. But both of those sides could drop out, and it could be Brentford and Wolves in there, depending on how results go this weekend. But yeah, Norwich, they haven't won any of their last 2 games, so they were in with a really good chance of getting into the top 2, but 1 point out of 6 in their last 2, so disappointing into the season. But I think considering where they were when Alex Neil came in, and sort of around the 10th place mark, Neil Adams had lost his way a little bit with the club, and Alex Neil came in and he's really made them into quite a force. And I think if they can finish 3rd or 4th, depending on what happens with Middlesbrough this weekend, it'll be a pretty good achievement from where they were, and I think they'll certainly fancy themselves in the playoffs.
Well, to Fulham, it's been a disappointing season overall, isn't it? But they've been in decent form recently.
Yeah, they're unbeaten in 5 and won 2 in a row now, so they're finishing the season quite strongly. But like you say, on the whole, very disappointing campaign. I think it was 13 years they were in the Premier League, and then they came down last season. And it hasn't quite gone to plan. Felix Magath was in charge. He did a woeful job, and all the reports that you heard were that he was just a terrible manager, both in the dressing room, in the boardroom. He just wasn't very sort of accommodating. He wasn't giving the players much chance. So Kit Simons came in, interim manager. He did a decent job since he's got the job full time, and they're sitting 17th in the table, which for some of the quality they have in their squad is nowhere near where they should be. That is a very poor season. But recently on Saturday they had that incredible 4-3 win over Middlesbrough. A balmy game it was. Ross McCormack with a hat-trick. It certainly hasn't gone as well as McCormack would have hoped. I think he had 28 goals, I think it was, last season. The top scorer when he was at Leeds. He's come in, he's got 17 now after that hat-trick, which is still a decent return for him. And you look at what he's done, and they've got Matt Smith, who's come back. He had that loan at Bristol City, the big striker who was they signed also from Leeds last summer. I think certainly those two, if they both stay there this summer, they could be a real force next season. I think there's no reason why they shouldn't be probably the best strike force in the league. Matt Smith is a big player, great in the air. McCormack, very good poacher, positionally knows where to go. So if those two can both stay, I think that'd be a really good sign for next season. And I think certainly Fulham, they're still they've got a lot of quality players there, and I think if they can not really lose any of their big players, they should be at least challenging for a top half place next year, because what happened this season certainly a lot worse than it should have been.
Has it been a decent end to the season? You see them causing Norwich any problems in this one?
I think Norwich, they now know they can't get into the top 2, and I think depending on, Middlesbrough have got Brighton at home, which should be quite an easy game for them. So I think Norwich, they're going to finish 4th, and it will just be interesting to see who they come up against in the playoffs. I think Fulham, they've been pressed lately, did really well against Middlesbrough last time. I think Fulham might just get a point here. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
Sports on there for a 2-2 draw.